Have you ever wanted to say something and just couldn't? Ever froze, even though you knew exactly what you wanted to scream? Ever had thoughts that scared you just because they were yours? Today is one of those days. May 13th, 2025. Mercury, the planet of speech, is in exact opposition to Lilith, the primal feminine shadow. Taurus versus Scorpio. Word versus drive. Reason versus instinct. This transit isn't gentle. It's a blade, a shattered mirror, a voice stuck in your throat, aching to become a storm. If you've felt anxious trying to express yourself, been caught in unexplained conflicts, or had desires you barely recognize, you're living this aspect. And today, you won't understand it with your mind. You'll feel it in your body. If this tension is already moving through you, write in the comments. My voice is coming back. Because what you repress devours you, but what you speak sets you free. It starts with discomfort. Small, almost subtle, like a whisper no one else hears, but you feel. You're in a calm environment, but inside, something stirs. An unspoken question, a desire that keeps resurfacing, a thought you wish you hadn't had. That's Lilith speaking, the part of you that refuses to be censored, that doesn't want to be polite or understood or approved, it just wants to exist. That's it. Mercury is trying to keep things in order today. Taurus craves stability, clarity, logic. But Lilith in Scorpio wants to dive, to go deep, to dig up everything you've buried under control. And you feel that friction in the tone of your voice, in the urge to say too much or not enough, in the hesitation between staying silent to keep the peace, or exploding and facing the fallout. That inner whisper is just the beginning. It will grow. And if you don't listen, it will scream. You catch yourself saying things you don't mean, smiling when you're irritated, agreeing just to avoid conflict, and wondering why? Because today, Mercury is exposed. He's being tested by Lilith, and Lilith wants to rip off the mask. You communicate with the world every day, but are any of those words truly yours? Or are they memorized lines, safe scripts, inherited behaviors? The social mask is comfortable, but today, it suffocates. You feel the tension in your shoulders as you try to keep your tone calm. You feel the fatigue of saying what others want to hear instead of what you need to say. Mercury in Taurus wants peace. Lilith in Scorpio wants truth, and peace without truth is a cage. Today, either you remove the mask or it falls off right in front of you, because your true voice only rises when the character dies. You try to keep your tone steady, but something explodes inside. It's not a loud explosion, it's an implosion, a collapse between what you think and what you feel. Today, Lilith faces Mercury head-on, and no diplomacy in the world can stop the clash. Lilith doesn't want to negotiate. She wants to be heard, to be felt, to be spoken. She is the ancestral scream of the silenced woman, the unspoken desire, the rage disguised as politeness. And you feel that inside yourself, even if you can't name it, even if you know nothing about astrology. Today, communication becomes a battlefield. Words come out twisted, language fails, diplomacy shatters, but in that shattering you see where your self-censorship lives, where you go silent just to fit in, where you betray yourself just to please. Lilith doesn't destroy out of cruelty. She destroys what's been silently devouring you. And you must decide. Will you run from your own shadow, or will you face it and finally listen to what it has to say? There comes a moment when the body can't take it anymore. You've been swallowing words for years, and today they rise like lava, hot, merciless, purifying. You begin to speak, maybe without thinking, maybe with anger, but for the first time, with truth. You say what you've always held back. You reveal what you've never dared to share. You own what you've always hidden, and the world reacts. Some will pull away, others will come closer, but all will see who you truly are. And all of this is the reflection of today's opposition. Mercury in Taurus tries to protect form. Lilith in Scorpio demands raw content. And you're right in the middle, burning. The rupture is terrifying, but it also sets you free, because silence is comfortable until it starts killing you from the inside. Today, something breaks, and that break is a portal. If you're already feeling that tear open, right, I broke the silence. After the rupture comes the emptiness, and in the emptiness comes the encounter. You look at yourself and see parts you once rejected. You see anger with less guilt, desire with less shame, fear with more compassion. Lilith is not the monster, she's the mirror. She shows you what has been denied for far too long. And now, instead of banishing it, you embrace it. You realize it's not contradictory to want to be accepted and still speak your truth. That you can love and be angry, that you can care and scream, that you can feel everything and still be whole. Reconciliation with the shadow isn't a poetic hug. It's a daily negotiation. It's you looking inward and saying, this is all me, and all of this deserves space. And when you do that, your voice changes, your presence shifts, and the world responds differently, not out of mysticism, but for emotional survival. You begin to speak differently, not because you learned new words, but because you removed the filter, the one that censored what was real in the name of what was acceptable. Now your voice carries a new frequency, stronger, raw, more you. Mercury is still in Taurus, still seeking safety, structure, logic. But after facing Lilith, he learns something new. Not every truth needs to be comfortable, to be necessary. You no longer need to over-explain. You don't need to dress up your pain or apologize for feeling what you feel. Your language shifts because your vibration has shifted. And now, your words come from a place that's less rehearsed, more visceral. It's like you finally allowed your voice to grow roots. And when a voice has roots, it doesn't sway with every wind. Today, say something you've never said out loud, even if it's just to yourself. Then, if you feel like sharing, write in the comments. This is my new voice. You've released your voice. Now, it echoes, and that echo can be frightening. Because when you start expressing yourself with authenticity, the world starts responding with more truth too. It's not always pretty, not always warm, but it's real. People drift away. Relationships shift. Doors close. But at the same time, others open. New people hear what you're saying and see themselves in it. You find resonance where before there was only noise. Cleaner connections, more honest exchanges. This is the price and the gift of true expression. You begin to understand truth isn't meant to please. It's meant to free. And your truth now echoes in places you never imagined reaching. If you're already feeling that echo ripple through your life, write, "My sound found its space." You feel the relief, like taking off tight clothes, like finally breathing deeply without fear of being seen. Your voice is no longer a tool. It's an extension of who you are. And with it comes liberation, not just from words, but from expectations, from roles, from versions of yourself built only to please, to hide, to survive. Now, when you speak, your whole body vibrates. You know you don't need to be loud to be true, or polished to be legitimate. You've realized freeing your voice is at its core, freeing your being. And those who can't handle that can learn or leave, but you're not going back. Today, you close this cycle. Say to yourself, my voice is sacred. Write it in the comments if you want to seal the pact. Because your word now is ritual. Now that your voice is free, what remains is silence. Not the silence of repression, but of peace. For the first time in a long while, what you think, what you feel, and what you say are in the same place. You no longer need to translate your essence to be accepted. You just need to be. And that changes everything. Internal conflicts begin to dissolve. You hear your own thoughts more calmly. You name your feelings without fear of seeming weak. And you realize that deep down, the biggest battle was always between you and yourself. Today, there's no stage, no audience, only presence. Now your voice serves your heart, and the heart doesn't need to scream. It knows how to be heard in silence. That's what Mercury learns after facing Lilith. That true intelligence is born from reconciliation with the shadow. Now, you speak, and the world hears you differently. It's no longer about convincing, it's about vibrating. Your voice changed because you changed. And every time you express yourself with truth, you're not just speaking, you're transforming. You transform those who listen. You shift the frequency of the conversation. You shift the field. The word becomes an instrument, a ritual, alchemy, and the most beautiful part, you realize that what once was pain is now a bridge. The anger you used to silence now becomes presence. The shame that paralyzed you now becomes empathy. The shadow that scared you is now your strongest part. Today, use your voice to heal, to create, to say what still needs to be said, even to yourself. If you've made it this far, write, my voice transforms. Because when you speak from the soul, even silence listens. The opposition between Mercury and Lilith has passed, but it left marks, sound scars, not to hurt you, but to remind you what you silence consumes you. What you speak with truth sets you free. Your voice isn't just yours. It carries generations. It breaks old pacts. It opens new paths. And now that you've made it through this journey, don't forget what you felt. Because the next time your throat tightens, you'll remember that you've already faced this once, and you can face it again. The voice you released today might just be the voice that changes the world, or at the very least, your own.